Hey, so this is a different kind of video. Originally, this started out as a segment in my Longer Life is Strange essay, but it didn't quite fit. Not because it wasn't important, of course, but because the tone kinda shifted to a more philosophy-centered script. The pacing kinda broke and it started to feel like a different conversation entirely. So it kinda just landed on the cutting floor. Still, I already made the research and a bunch of notes for it, and honestly I couldn't just leave them there. So here it is, an addendum. A rant maybe, about Chloe Price. Because I've seen the takes and, that she's too emotional, that she's toxic. That Joyce is doing her best and Chloe just doesn't appreciate her. And sure, some of those takes come from a place of wanting better for Chloe. But a whole lot of them, too many, sound like the kind of things adults say when a teenage girl acts out of the societal expectation. This video isn't about pretending she's perfect. She's reckless, she's selfish, she isn't the best friend all the time, and she lashes out. She makes bad choices, over and over again. But that doesn't mean she's wrong, because behind all of that anger is something harder to admit. A girl who was left alone too many times. And we talk about Chloe, especially when we reduce her to unreasonable or ungrateful, we're often refusing to look at the bigger picture. One of the most persistent criticisms of Chloe Price is that she's too angry. Too loud, too defiant. That she pushes people away, that she doesn't appreciate the adults in her life, and especially her mother Joyce. But here's the thing, anger in teenage girls is not treated the same way as anger in boys. When boys act out, we frame it as a phase, as growing pains, as a need for structure, for attention, maybe even sympathy. But when girls act out, when they raise their voices, when they stop being agreeable, their narrative kind of flips. They're too emotional, disrespectful, dramatic. They needed to be put in their place. This double standard isn't just anecdotal, it's been studied. According to research published in Sex Roles, a journal of research, girls' expression of anger are often judged more harshly than boys', even by other women. In educational settings, girls are more likely to be punished for perceived attitude problems, while boys with the same behaviors are seen as assertive for just being boys. So when Chloe slams a door, or lights up, or screams at her mom's new husband, it's not received as grief or fear or desperation, it's seen as a tantrum, something to be, corrected. But Chloe's not being unreasonable, she's being honest. She's 14 years old when her dad died. Her best friend left shortly after, and by 16 her home became unrecognizable, with a man in it who treats her like a threat. And Joyce says she's trying, and she is. But trying doesn't mean succeeding. And it definitely doesn't mean Chloe has to pretend everything's fine just to keep the peace. Because that's the real message behind so much of the criticism aimed at Chloe. Keep the peace. Be quieter, be nicer, smile more. Suppress it. But that's not what healing looks like. That's what denial looks like. And if Chloe refuses to play along with that, she's not the problem. So, this brings me to an unpopular opinion. Joyce did not do right by Chloe. That's not to say Joyce is a bad person. She's a grieving widow, a working class single mom, trying to hold everything together. That's real, that's sympathetic. But it doesn't excuse the decision to bring David Madsen into Chloe's life when and how she did. Because here's the reality. Chloe was a teenager still deep in the rawest part of her grief. Her father, the one person who Chloe clearly felt truly seen by, was suddenly gone tragically. And not long after, Joyce brought someone new into their home. Someone stern, controlling, a man who didn't hide his suspicion or contempt for Chloe, and who quickly imposed surveillance, discipline and emotional distance into a space that used to feel safe. This isn't about disliking David as a character, and Life is Strange does something complex with him. It's showing how his trauma from military service and loss fuels his rigidity. But that doesn't mean Chloe owes him anything, and it doesn't mean Joyce made the right call. When teenagers experience major loss, stability is crucial. According to child psychology studies from American Psychological Association, adolescents coping with grief need safe, empathetic environments, not ones where trust is replaced by authority. A step-parenting entering the picture during that period, especially one who enforces control before building trust, can destabilize the entire household dynamic. And that's exactly what happens. David isn't just a rule enforcer, he actively monitors Chloe's life. He goes through her things, he treats her like a threat, he enters her room without her permission. And Joyce, despite knowing how badly Chloe is hurting, sides with David again and again. She asks Chloe to understand, to, try harder, to accept someone she never got a chance to choose. But Chloe didn't need discipline. She needed space to grieve, she needed trust, and most of all, she needed her mother. And Joyce, well-meaning or not, gave her David instead. So, Chloe Price isn't just a character people defend, she is someone many people recognized. For a lot of young women, she felt familiar, not necessarily because they had also blue hair or a rebellious streak, but because she captured something real, the emotional dissonance of her being a teenage girl who's both vulnerable and trying to be strong, who's angry but never really allowed to be. She was someone who loved fiercely even when it came out wrong, someone who couldn't always express what she needed, but still kept reaching. Someone who fought not because she was reckless, but because she didn't know how else to survive. She was someone incredibly lonely. And, I'll be honest, if I had met someone like Chloe when I was 19, I probably would have thought she was a little much too. I wouldn't have known what to do with all that emotion, all that, rawness. I would have misread it, thought it was about drama or tension, or, rebellion for its own sake. But now, looking back, I understand it differently. That's part of why I wanted to make this addendum in the first place. Even though it didn't quite fit in the main Life is Strange video, and the script certainly isn't as refined as it, I wanted to say it anyway. And for anyone listening, if you saw yourself in her, just a little bit, how she felt and how she expressed herself, I hope you know there was never anything wrong with you. So, thanks for listening. Goodbye.